Welcome into the Marvel Stuff Podcast, where once again we are going in depth into one of Marvel's many great movies. This time, of course, into the Spider-Verse we go. I'm joined by my good friend and always co-host.
Hey, it's Josh Kennedy from Facebook. We're talking Spider-Verse 1, because Spider-Verse 2 is coming out tomorrow.
Absolutely. This is a fun one to jump into. We've got a bunch of Spider-Man content out there already. Of course,
Indeed.
yesterday you guys could catch Ron talking about his feelings on the original trilogy, which is super interesting, and he does a great job of explaining sort of what his love for it is.
To our Spider Week that came out the same time that the newest Spider-Man movie came out, No Way Home.
Yep, we did a lot of stuff on that. Although me and you didn't get to do too much stuff of our own, as we were sort of asking others their opinions. So
That's true.
we got to save ourselves to talk about Into the Spider-Verse, which is an interesting movie. It's obviously unique in that it's animated, but people seem to love it. I mean, I've heard everything from the best animated movie of all time to the best Spider-Man movie.
I was
a lot
just
of
gonna
hot
say
takes
that
out there.
There are some real hot takes on this movie because it was something different that the audience wasn't used to seeing. And I think that's super important. And we're probably going to hit on that plenty throughout this episode. And I'm excited to jump in.
Let's start right off the bat with the, I think the most important part of the movie, the elephant in the room, if you will, animation. Before you even watch this, were you a big animation guy? Did you watch, I don't know, cartoons generally?
Well, of course I watch cartoons. My intro into superhero stuff was the Batman animated series, and that turned into other animated shows I really liked, like the 1980s X-Men cartoon was sweet. We had a handful of episodes of the animated Spider-Man show on VHS that we wore down to nothing, including the crossover with Daredevil, which to this day remains some of my favorite animated episodes of any medium. So animation goes back quite a ways, and I'll say that this one is great. I really like this movie. It's easy top 10 animated movie for me.
Do you still watch animated movies? Like when you have, do you have any shows or movies you still get into? I know I still watch the DC stuff all the time.
Yep, that's a big one because I have HBO Max. I'm up on that one all the time. Lots of animated goodness there. Outside of that, I'm not really huge on animated stuff anymore. I used to be. I'll still occasionally throw on a cartoon, or I've seen some of the more recent Pixar things, but not all of them.
Yeah, we lost you a little bit there, a little in and out, but that's all right. If you guys didn't hear what he said, he loves animation, and I do too. I think that might be a unique experience between us, that not everyone going into this movie was a big animated person. A lot of them are just Spider-Man fans. They heard this was good. It had great word of mouth, so it drove people to the theater.
Yeah, the cast wasn't really a selling point for people, but then it ended up like you actually look at who was in it, you're like, man, there are a lot of famous people here. It's kind of insane who they got here.
It's definitely one of those things that, like, I don't remember knowing going into the movie, but like once it started getting word of mouth, people were like, oh, dude, it's got this person, which is so funny that it's such a way to sell animated things to the normal people, I guess you'd say, to the mainstream. If you just start listing off famous people, for some reason that hooks
yeah, people. I don't really get it, but then I'm also the type of person that really enjoys it when I find out that someone that I know is in an animated feature.
I mean, look at Mario. Look at the most recent Mario. Like, it's a big deal that, like, Chris Pratt is Mario. It's a big deal that Jack Black is Bowser. Like, people love that. It's a reason why the movie made so much money.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a big part of it. Plus, Mario is just one of the biggest IPs in the universe. But the celebrity cast definitely helped.
Yep, and this movie did it just the same. So yeah, outside of animation, which we'll nerd out about the specific type of animation later. But I just wanted to get your head on that. The cast being probably the second biggest selling point. I'm going to list off some cast members. Tell me if you remember that they were in the movie, and then if you recognize them from something. All right?
I'll say what I recognize them from.
There you go. That's probably, yeah, exactly. Shamik Moore. Did you know who played Miles before this? Have you heard him in anything else?
Nope. He's one of the few cast members I had not heard of, nor anything like that. I just was not familiar with his work.
I had known about Dope, which
I
knew was like a big.
Heard of Dope.
Yeah, I actually did never watch it, but I knew it was big and it was winning awards and it was in all the Oscar talk, but I never watched it. So I knew that this kid existed because when they were talking about it, they were like, he's the guy from Dope. And like, I haven't watched it. Since then, I've watched Let It Snow, which is like a Netflix like Christmas special. I like it.
Oh, I have seen that, but I guess I didn't realize he was in it. I mean, I mean, the name value of being in Spider-Verse, like I don't know, it just didn't register.
You wouldn't recognize his face. I think that's probably true for most people. Let's keep going. Jake Johnson is the fat Peter Parker.
Peter B. Parker, yes. He's New Girl, right?
New Girl, exactly. Love that guy.
Which I haven't watched New Girl personally, but I've heard it's one of the greatest shows, so I'll get
It's definitely funny. It's definitely for our generation too. It's like that delayed childhood, keeping the childhood life going.
Yep.
Which is fun. Haley Steinfeld obviously is Gwen.
Kate Bishop, Bumblebee, a bunch of other things. Pop star.
Dating Josh Allen, obviously. Probably no.
Is she actually dating Josh Allen now? I think I heard that.
Yeah, she is. I did see it somewhere. It's like, it's so funny that we like sports, but movie stars are much more famous than sports athletes. So.
Oh yeah, she makes a lot more money than him, which is kind of insane considering he's a really good football player. But also, whatever, it's fine.
Mahershala Ali.
Yep, Mr. Blade himself. Also, I knew him as Cottonmouth from Luke Cage.
He's so good as Cottonmouth. Yeah, Blade. We'll see if they're going. But yeah, he's Uncle Aaron. He plays it well. This one is one I actually am learning right now on the spot. Brian Tyree Henry, who we just saw in the Eternals. I didn't know that he was the dad.
He's in. I didn't know he was the dad either, but he's in. Oh man, the freaking Donald Glover show. But is it just called Georgia? Oh my god, I watched it. Atlanta. Thank you. I was like Georgia.
Georgia.
What is the name of this show?
Yeah, I mean,
that's close.
Pretty much Atlanta is Georgia. The rest of Georgia is nothing. No one cares about it.
That's true.
Yeah, so he's great. I don't know who Lily Tomlin is, who plays Aunt May, but I recognize...
Lily Tomlin's very famous. I can't name a single thing she's ever done, but I know the name is very big.
She's been around a while. All right, I believe you. We've got Zoe Kravitz.
Oh, Magic School Bus. So is my wife.
That's great.
Must be Miss Frizzle.
That's good. I like that. Zoe Kravitz, of course.
Yep. Catwoman. She's also in Fantastic Beasts and X-Men First Class and a bunch of other things.
Yeah, she definitely is a newer famous. Well, I mean, she was famous because who she is, but
because of her parents. I mean, she's famous adjacent, and then she became famous all around.
Famous herself.
Yeah.
But here's the fun ones. I mean, John Mulaney is in this.
Ooh, love that guy. One of my favorite comedians. His new special was okay. But
yeah, it's a little weird.
Very funny.
But I like him. Nicolas Cage was great.
Spider-Man Noir.
Spider-Noir.
Rumor is there might be doing a live-action TV series starring Nick Cage for Spider-Man Noir.
Yeah, so good. And then Katherine Hahn and Liev Schreiber are both
fun fact, first thing I ever saw her in was Step Brothers, and she is super messed up in that movie.
Yeah.
She's done a lot of things since then, but that's what I first saw her.
That's definitely what I think of when I think of her. My favorite one, though, is Chris Pine. Like, I did not expect that when I went into the movie. I was like, wait.
Chris Pine's a random pull.
And he's in, like, a good chunk of it. Like, the whole first act, there's a lot of
him.
There's a lot of the regular Peter Parker. A lot more than I remembered. So, yeah, super fun cast. A lot of just interesting, their voices. And they all do a good job. It's all fun. Like, I think everyone likes all those characters. Is there anyone you think that knocked it out of the park the best?
You didn't say Liev Schreiber's Kingpin, which
I mentioned him briefly, but I mentioned him with Katherine Hahn. It's fine.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't catch that. I like him. He's great. He's Ray Donovan, also Sabretooth. So
yep,
shout out that guy. He's dope.
He's awesome. All right, well, that's good. I think that's an awesome cast, and the cast is a big part of why people love it. And I think it's just fun to. If you hadn't thought about it in a while, you realize there's just so many like legitimately famous people.
Did I miss you saying Oscar Isaac, even though he's a tiny role? because he's going to be huge in this next
He's
one.
going to be huge in the next one. It is cool that he has that post-credit scene. I was excited for it. I didn't actually recognize the voice in the moment, but I read about it 30 seconds later. So
right, exactly.
Definitely was interesting. But yeah, let's jump into the movie then. Let's see what we remember, what we took away from it. Obviously, I think the plot itself just often gets overlooked because people just love the feel of the movie.
It's like, the chaotic animation, very comic booky, different overlays. It's just, it's a feat in and of itself. Not that I would like even know the technicalities of all this stuff, but I know that the animation itself is not easy to make. And this is just stacking animation on animation, and it's unreal. And I'm really excited to see what they do in this new one, because this was crazy to watch. It had like pop art looking stuff from comic books, and I couldn't say enough good things about the animation of this film. But yeah, the plot is also awesome. I previously didn't have that much exposure to Miles Morales. I feel like that's the case for most people. Maybe not everyone. There's the comic book geek that knows him from things, but this was kind of like the tipping point for that character. And now he's coming up on popularity for like, this is like, he's like a new generation, like the next generation's Peter Parker in a way, even though Peter Parker still is a mainstay for a lot of people. For the most part, when you think of Peter Parker, you think of the adult or the college age kid at this point, because we've seen him in so many mediums. So Miles is now taking up the mantle of like the young Spider-Man, and it's a completely different culture that he's from, different family dynamics, and obviously the multiverse hopping stuff makes him super interesting, and he interacts with a lot of other young Avengers and things in the comic books. So that this character, he's going on a rocket ship, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, the movie itself sort of has a similar arc to it, right? He meets the original Spider-Man, sort of Peter, by accident. He goes down to show out, and like he spray paints. There's a lot of spray painting.
He tags a lot, which is cool. And the sewer scene where he gets bit by the spider is a whole different thing. It's just all can't. Yeah,
it's definitely interesting because it's totally different. It's not the origin we know, except that it is, because he still gets bit by a spider, but it's not a radioactive spider. It's like a weird multiversal spider. It's like glitching. It's weird.
Looks cool for sure. And like the uncle being the Prowler, that's a pillar of that character. Is the fact that was not the main plot, but it was definitely very prominent throughout the film. I was super into that as well.
A lot of good stuff. Going on. I think let's talk back to the beginning, because I think I really like all the different Spider-Man, so I want to hit on them. Chris Pine's Spider-Man is very classic. He's very
Blondie Spider-Man. Yeah.
He's very charming. He's very fun. He obviously cares a lot, but unfortunately, he gets put right in front of Miles, which is interesting. That because I think as we meet every Spider-Man, they all got a different tragic backstory.
It is super interesting that you would choose to kill a character as big as Peter Parker. Obviously, there are multiple Peter Parkers in this film, but to kick it off with the death of Spider-Man was definitely an interesting decision, and it paid off gangbusters.
I was kind of bummed about it because I liked him, so I was sad. I was sad to see him go, but I liked that it forced Miles into a spotlight that was immediately thrown into all gears, because Gwen shows up out of nowhere. Peter B. Parker sort of shows up out of nowhere.
Yep.
Because they're all being forced into this thing. The overarching plot is like Kingpin's doing some sort of
he's trying to save his family.
Thing.
Yep. He's trying to save his wife and son.
Did they die? Can't mess with the multiverse. Yeah, they died. They died in his universe, and he's trying to go.
I wasn't sure if it was that or if they completely disowned him. I couldn't remember which one it was, but yeah, I think you're right. I think it's definitely a death.
The new family disowns him because they see what him on. It's very similar to just a ton of these movies, right? It's very similar to Wanda, really, in Doctor Strange, where it does that. And you can't really change fate. That's it's interesting enough because, like you said, it's got the Prowler. I think that's the more interesting part. But we see all the different villains. We see a different version of Doc Ock is the wife, which is interesting.
Oh yeah, Octavia instead of the one that we know.
we see the Green Goblin, where he's more of the monster version, which I think was the right call because having the actual Green Goblin be a secondary villain never works, but having the monster one sort of
Having this
does.
monsters Green Goblin. Yeah, that's a good point. I guess I hadn't really thought about that in depth, but you're right. Goblin's such a huge villain that he would have taken the focus away from kind of the plot here if it would have been your Willem Dafoe type of Green Goblin.
But not just the Spider-Man plot. There's also the plot of Miles. And like we said, a lot of the reason people like this, not that we would know, but a lot of the reason other people like this is it is a different culture. It shows off a black family. It's a dad that's a little protected but trying to have fun. It's a mom who is
the thing that still confuses me just a tad is if it's his actual dad or his stepdad, because he has his mother's last name. It's Officer Davis, and then his mom is the one with Morales' last name. And I don't know if they specified in the film, but in the comics, I'm like 85% sure that the cop is his stepdad's.
I think so. I think so too. You're right. I don't think they do specify it in this. They might have like a throwaway line at some point, but it seems like he's been around for a long time, which is similar to the comic. It's not like a new stepdad. At least not in this movie. It's not.
Right.
He's definitely been around for a while. He's got the mother, so it's an interesting dynamic, because he obviously loves his family. He's not trying to be a jerk about anything, but he's becoming Spider-Man. He's meeting a girl. He's also trying to do this fancy school. So it's classic Spider-Man stuff, just with a different twist and a different flavor instead of old uncles and aunts who they're never really, you know what I mean? Like Aunt May never is a dynamic other than he needs to protect Aunt May because she's too old to really do anything. But this is like these are active parents who so it creates a little different dynamic for him, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, as much as Aunt May took care of Peter growing up, like you're right, it's more of like you're gonna have a closer relationship with your parents for sure over an aunt.
Or a different one. Like your aunt, you can sneak out whenever you want. She's old. You can do whatever you want. She just is gonna be there when you get home. She doesn't understand technology. This one, like dad catches him tagging streets and stickers and stuff. Like,
yep.
There's a little more active confrontation going on with his parents, which I think is interesting. I think the whole Gwen thing showing up is interesting because I remember there's that they have a little.
Well, let's kind of talk about that a little bit. The Spider Gwen of it all, like making that one of the main characters. How do you feel about that? Because that character itself is relatively new. Gwen Stacy isn't, but her transforming into Spider Gwen and this whole like reinvention of the character, I think it was just so smart the way they handled it, and she's a highlight of the film without a doubt.
No, they come off. She comes off as this like, oh, I'm super cool. Like, she comes off as the hot chick who's too cool for everybody, but like, he's trying to slide. It's all very interesting, but she also like can sort of tell that he's a Spider-Man. Like, she eventually figures it out. So
right.
It's interesting, and then his whole. Now she's the one teaching him how to be Spider-Man is interesting, along with the other Spider-Man who shows up, Peter. But yeah, their whole dynamic's great. I think that's why people are excited about the second one so much, is because
they want to see that romance butt into a true like relationship type of thing, because everybody loves the meet cute teenage romance thing as like a plot device. It'll be fun for sure.
Yep, I think it's definitely going to be really exciting. I think it's probably the best relationship. I really like him and the other Peter too, though. I think that's really fun. Which is, I think will disappoint me in this next one coming up, because it seems like
I feel like they're getting away from that a little bit, but we'll see how it goes. Peter, I like the amount of Spider-Man in this one. I feel like the next film they're gonna have to nail it, because it sounds like there's just 100 different versions of Spider-Man easy. And obviously some are just going to be little cameos, but I loved the core team of spider themed heroes that they had for this film.
Yeah. And not all of them get enough of a background. Peter B. Parker gets to be the sort of next,
the main,
the next one besides him, and probably Gwen, maybe even more than Gwen. He might have more screen time than Gwen. I'd have to look.
I
But
think Gwen has more, but
I
it's
think
probably pretty close.
Jake Johnson's such perfect casting. If you watch New Girl, it's exactly what his character is in New Girl. He's this sort of like man child, wasn't quite grown up. You know he's a nice guy, but he just doesn't quite ever do it. And
Yeah,
this one's interesting.
his tragic backstory was so nice too. The way they nailed that, I was like, "Let's go, dude! I'm into that." I mean, not tragic, I guess. Heartbreaking, whatever way
Right.
you want to look at it. But it's rough. He's going through a breakup, eating fast food, wearing sweatpants over his Spider-Man costume. Like it's all very funny stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like his MJ is still alive. He just,
He messed up majorly.
messed up amazingly, and but it shows the different paths you can go and stuff out there, man. But yeah, the other Spider-Man are all great. Like I said, we said they're also funny. Spider-Ham is really funny. Spider-Noir, I think, is cool. But very interesting decisions, I think, is what makes it fun. They didn't just pick like a bunch of Peters that had like a little bit of difference. They did that.
Oh, like so drastically. Yeah, like what's the robot's name? That was another one. Penny in the robot.
Yeah, she's great. Like she's not even a Spider-Man. She just like has a suit.
Yep.
It's so good. It's so funny to me that they
hitting on the anime inspirations.
So, but I mean, we're going to see all that stuff, like you said, in the next one. But you're right. I don't know that we'll ever get to spend as much time with individual ones like we did in this one. But maybe we will. I don't know. I like it. That's one of the things I really like about the movie. Is all these movies. I mean, Magnificent Seven is one of my favorite movies ever. I don't talk about it enough. But it's just I love those team ups. Because you don't have to completely explain the character, you sort of just get to leave it mysterious and vague.
Well, that's why crossover comic books are so popular, because you can have just like a big name, like have Ghost Rider show up in a Wolverine comic book, and you don't need to spend 30 pages explaining who Ghost Rider is and why he's there. You can have like 2 panels that explains why he's there, and then boom, there's a team up comic, and it's awesome.
Yep, I like it. It makes it fun. It makes it interesting. And the same thing with all the villains. Like we said, we get a little bit of back at. I mean, I remember Doc Ock, Octavia or whatever her name is.
I don't care.
She's Doc Ock. Like it does give a little bit of explanation to how she became the Doc Ock instead of the other one, but you don't really care. You sort of just exist. Which I think is cool. It does that for all of them. Really, it does it for. Obviously, it does it for Kingpin. We hear his backstory and all that stuff. So they do a great job with the time they have. I don't know how long this movie is, but it sure feels like they pack a lot into it.
Yep. Some of the fun stuff is just like when the funeral, or not the graveyard scene where he ends up going smashing around the city with unconscious Peter B. Parker or whatever it was. Like hilarious stuff. It was hijinks ensued, and it was great to watch. I'm just starting to think of some of my favorite parts of the movie, and that was definitely a highlight.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are going to talk about the Prowler reveal, and
yeah,
to me that didn't. I mean, that spoke to me none. I don't know. Did it speak to you at all? It's not just.
It was. I guess because I don't know. Like I like that relationship. I like how he looks up to his uncle so much, and he sees him as a bit of a hero, and then that image is shattered, and it turns out he's actually not a very good person. I don't know. That's that type of family drama is always it's a plot device, but I really dig it because it feels like it eats at you more than just a silly little thing like, yeah, this guy's a villain because he's a villain. Doc Ock is a monster, so therefore he's an evil monster. That's easy to put away, but the uncle, he's a villain because that was his profession. Type of thing where this is how he makes his living. He has to work for these guys that he doesn't necessarily agree with and do things that are certainly against the law. And I don't know. I find the Prowler interesting, but that begs the point. How do you feel about the use of the Rogues Gallery in this movie? Because there's a lot of them. We get different versions of a lot of, little cameos of different people too. Did it feel like a good use? Do you wish they could have hit more on others? I mean, obviously we're going to see some new guys in the next one, and I'm excited for that. But
I think for the most part, all of them except for Kingpin and Prowler sort of feel cartoonish in a way, right? Like I know there's like the Scorpion gets like hit with like a cartoon mallet at one point, which is funny. But that's sort of how they all feel. That the henchmen come in, they fight, they sort of get beat up by all the other Spider-Men. it's like okay, they don't feel like they're that threatening. I think it's definitely Kingpin and Prowler who are like the threatening ones,
Yeah,
which is good. It's fine.
yeah, it's cool. It was a Sinister Six version, and it was cool to watch. But you're right, like none of them felt like they had the weight of their true characters for the most part. It's just like it, it felt like an episode of a cartoon. Like this guy is the villain of the week, and he's going with a group of guys, and he's attacking the base. You don't need anything much beyond that. And then you got your two mainstays.
Yep. Yeah, I liked it. Let's talk about the anime, like the main like weird multiverse stuff. Right. I'm not a big multiverse guy. Kind of like you're not a big space guy. Like multiverse usually just annoys me because the rules are always just vague and weird.
I know, but
And this one was
sometimes it
no
makes
different.
me so happy when it's done correctly. Like this is a little, side tangent, but the newest issue of Batman, they did this thing where he went to all the different versions of Batman through like a multiverse hopping. So it was Batman the animated series. He showed up in like the art style of the comic book changed depending on what universe he was in. And that's the type of stuff I love. Like even if it's just a quick scene, like it had Adam West Batman, it had the Arkham Batman, it had Dark Knight Returns Batman, all of these things that were just super crossovers, and it's just a perfect. It's an example of like if you do it right, it's awesome. If you do it wrong, it's just kind of like stupid. It feels low stakes. I think that's the problem with multiverses, and I think everyone kind of needs to acknowledge that. Like any character, you can just bring in a different version of them, and that takes the stakes away from most things. So that's why I'm firmly on the side of like. Maybe not firmly. I'm on the side of like maybe you shouldn't do multiverse, but they already are. So
I mean, there's definitely lots of multiverse. I mean, think about the MCU itself, right?
Right.
There's been so many multiverses that have just been destroyed. Apparently, there's the one Doctor Strange did. Apparently, Kang has conquered and destroyed so many like multiverses. Like
it feels empty.
It's an infinite number of lives, and so you just like don't care. Like, well, I mean, if you worked on an entire multiverse and you've done that a bunch of times, you just so many lives. I mean, you latch onto the main one a little bit, but it does cheap. This one doesn't really do that. It's more like the multiverse is like exploding out of this into this world, I guess.
I'm curious how you're gonna like this new film because this one it's instead of Into the Spider-Verse, it is Across the Spider-Verse. And
right.
We're gonna be jumping.
I think I'll like
more
places. I do think I agree with you. I like it better when you go to universes instead of universes come to you, which is fun, which is interesting.
That is way cooler because then it doesn't feel like Reed Richards is dead in this multiverse, like the Illuminati, the way they did that in the Multiverse of Madness. While it was cool watching Wanda mow down an entire group of superhumans, it felt low stakes and unimportant because we weren't going to stay in that universe anyway.
I do hope, like you said, I actually hope they do different art styles in different universes. Because here's the thing. I understand that people love this art style. It's not my style of art style. I'm not the whole graffiti sort of feel to it just isn't for me. And it's sort of, as the movie goes on, I get used to it. They do a lot of creative things with it, which is what I think is cool. Like you said, they flip panels. They like do speech bubbles. They do interesting things. So I like that part of it. But the actual looking at it from moment to moment just isn't my style. It's a little too stylized for me. So
I get it. I'm on the opposite side because I'm the comic book guy, the comic book nerd that's reading comics all the time. So I'm like, oh yeah, they really translated this to like a cool looking animation for this film, and that's obviously I already talked about how much I love that. But you're right though, it can seem over stylized at points. So I don't know, Across the Multiverse, so maybe we'll just get a black and white Steamboat Willie looking Spider-Man universe.
I think that'd be really funny. It'd be cool. But yeah, I mean the plot's happening. The multiverse is like going out into this world, and the other Spider-Men are coming to save it at the same time. I don't quite understand that part, but
you don't have
they gotta stop Kingpin. He's got a big Hadron Collider that's messing up the multiverse.
Big highlight of this film, not to do with the plot, like the soundtrack was unreal. I just want to point that out. That the whole album is fantastic. But the Sunflower song with Post Malone and Swale, that thing went crazy, and it was played all over the radio, and kids were obsessed with it. And It sounds like this next one's gonna have a really good soundtrack too, and I'm excited for that. Some Metro Boomin stuff. Yeah.
What's up, Danger? That's a cool scene.
Ooh, yeah.
Like,
What's up,
I mean,
Danger? Oh, that is one of the coolest scenes of the whole film or the whole movie.
I mean, it's
sick.
It's one of those things, and then that scene is just all style. It's just like we've seen the whole Spider-Man on the side of a building thing. We're doing animation so we can do something even cooler. And they did. They did it really cool. It was awesome. It looked cool. It's fun to watch.
I think that's something that Sony's doing right, which feels weird to say because Sony rarely does things right with their film properties. But they chose to turn everything up to 11 because they knew they could. Like,
yeah.
You can translate a lot of pretty much all live action films into animation pretty seamlessly and switch it up a little bit. But if you tried to do this exact type of film, but in live action, you would be hurting with how much money they'd have to spend on CGI and just different things like that. So they really take advantage. Like, I'm glad it's not just a simple animated movie that you wish you could have seen in live action. Instead, it is an animated movie that I look forward to because it is animated, which is a little bit different than how I feel about a lot of things because, I'm a live action simp most of the time.
All right. Let's talk about it for just a second. Is this movie just Spider-Man Homecoming? Spider-Man Back Home? No Way Home?
Which
No
one? No Way Home's that's the newest one.
No. Isn't it though?
It's similar.
Well, I mean, technically, No Way Home would be just this. I think No Way Home is this movie. It's the same idea.
Well,
something is destroying the multiverse.
How much longer before No Way Home did Spider-Verse come out? I don't recall.
3 years?
So 3 years, it could have had some bearing on like that movie getting greenlit because they realized that the multiverse thing could be really cool. I think it was always on the top of everyone's mind, but you're right that it probably did inspire a lot. I can't completely compare the two though, because the live action No Way Home, it had 5 films of history with 2 different actors and just all that baggage that came with it and translated into the MCU as a broader form. And on the other end of things, this animated movie did all new things and then just kind of took the knowledge of Spider-Man in general and used it to its advantage and then kind of flipped and turned it a little bit. It was cool.
Right. I think this is the point. If the MCU version was just 2 Spider-Man that we didn't know, and it was like, oh, here's an alternative Spider-Man played by Jake Johnson and, Liam Hemsworth, and we didn't know them, I don't know that we would love that movie that much.
It would have been dumb. No, it would have been dumb.
It's very basic. It's like, I'm telling you, it's
you're missing on the nostalgia if you did it with that film, and the nostalgia, it gets at least 20%, and that's being conservative of the reason why that movie was so successful.
Whereas Into Spider-Verse, there is no nostalgia.
There's no nostalgia. You just know what Spider-Man is. That's really what your knowledge is. And your Spider-Man that everybody knows isn't even the main character. And I think that makes it awesome.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's sort of the point I'm making is Spider-Verse is able to do what No Way Home did without the nostalgia factor.
Yep.
Which I think, no matter how much you love No Way Home, and I love No Way Home, it's all nostalgia. Even the villains are nostalgia.
Yep.
Everything about it is like nostalgia, and Spider-Verse was able to be just as good, just as fun to watch without any of that, which I think is a pretty cool accomplishment.
Yeah, huge accomplishment. I mean, it got its flowers. It won a bunch of awards. I mean, it's a very, very popular movie, and that's why the saga film got a huge budget and got greenlit very, very fast. So, this is Sony's
score on Rotten Tomatoes. If you had to guess,
the first one.
Yeah, Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, I kind of saw it earlier. I think it's like 94.
It's 97%.
Okay.
It's 93 by the audience, but
that's that. Yeah, critics, I saw that score earlier.
The critics said 97%. That's
unheard of.
That's unheard of. That's like crazily interesting. Things about this movie that I think get lost to time is that it's pretty funny. Uh-huh. It's got some funny kid stuff, like little funny jokes about him being a child and is he in his room doing something all teenage boys do, or is he doing something else? There's some funny stuff like that.
That's true. I mean, that's it seems like a running gag for Spider-Man all the time. It's just Aunt May's coming in the room. What's he doing? Comes in and he's shirtless with his buddy Ned. What was that all about? And she just kind of rolls past it. But it is very funny still, and it has different comedic beat than what we've seen in a lot of things. I think it was just it's very much a brand of its own. And I'm into it.
No, so just I think if you think about this movie, don't forget that it's funny. Watch it again sometime, which we didn't do. We should have done. We should have.
Well,
watched
it's not
it
streaming anywhere. That's the problem. So if you want us to watch it, stream it somewhere, and then we can definitely rewatch it. But you and I have both seen it. Like I can personally say I've seen it 4 times. I think I've seen it 4 times.
I think I've seen it 3 times. It's interesting. Stan Lee cameo is okay. I think it's a basic one, but it's a good one because it has the moment.
Yeah,
it is his
last one. It's iconic though. The fact that he's like, yeah, it'll all fit you eventually, and it shows the no refund sign. I'm like, nice.
Yeah, it is funny. It's his last one, right?
His last cameo period? I don't think so. I think you're right that it is the last Marvel cameo though. But then there was a couple that he did like posthumous. I don't know.
Maybe it was the first one after that. Maybe it was the first one after he died.
I think that's what it was because everyone got super bummed out when he showed up. They're like, "Oh no, that's our man."
Yeah, that's what it was. But
yeah, I remember that hurting a little bit more with that cameo now.
All around, I think this is a good movie. I think it's hard to go in depth with because I think the stuff that is deep just aren't things that connect me. First off, I'm not a young teenager anymore. I don't really remember what it was like to be a teenager that much. I didn't go to a fancy school. I didn't, I was white. There's not a lot of things that are going to connect to me that way.
We don't connect to the main character as much as a lot of people do. That's why originally I tried to, Noah was going to try and jump on this one, and Miles is Noah's like favorite comic book character period, and we'll try and get him on at least for maybe the full review of the second one because he's going to have a lot to say, and he's definitely more of an expert on what it means to be a character like Miles than we are.
But I think to me, this makes it an interesting, because this is one of the higher rated movies I would have that when I think about it, I can't think of a reason I like it other than that I just like it. You know what I mean?
It does have that vibe a little bit. Yeah, it's not.
There's nothing.
It's just a good time. Like you're there. It's eye candy. It is well written. It's got humor. It's everything you could possibly want from an animated movie. And I really, really hope they can follow it up with at least something like, I don't think it's going to get another 97. I'll just be completely honest. But if it gets like a nice 85, I'm still down for it. Like it's going to be sweet. And I'm very, very excited to see that play out tomorrow. We'll be doing our spoiler-free review. That'll come out on Thursday, and then a full review on Friday. Hope you guys are looking forward to that. And got some more stuff going on this month that I'm sure everyone's excited for. But the most important thing is we're getting another Junior Marvel stuff host, hopefully in the beginning June here. Right there, Coach?
Yeah, well,
might be later June.
He's not going to be here in time to watch Spider-Verse, but
That's true.
He's also probably going to be a big dumb baby that doesn't know what's going on anyway. So,
yeah,
that's just the way babies are. They're dumb. I don't know what to tell you.
I do know my wife was pregnant with my daughter when No Way Home came out, and she was kicking the crap out of her while the action scenes were going on. So it's how we knew we had a Spider fan. So maybe you'll have to have Jenny watch it too.
That's how we like it. It's exciting. This is exciting. A lot of Marvel stuff finally is coming down the pipe. We're excited to talk about movies. This is one.
Oh, Secret Invasion coming soon. Yeah, this is it's summertime, baby. It's feeling warm. We're drinking, having fun with the boys, and we're gonna have some good content.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. Hopefully, this is a fun look at just how fun Into the Spider-Verse was.
One last note: we haven't recorded together since the poll went through, and Coach, Let me pull up the actual results. You did, in
Am I
fact,
funny?
you're considered still funny.
I am funny. Okay.
You are still considered funny. Let me find the percentage because it was a little better than I was expecting.
Everyone who voted that it's not funny is wrong and
Okay,
objectively
you
are
got
not funny.
62% of our audience said that the joke is still funny.
Yeah, see? You guys are
I mean, 23% said it was never funny, but we'll leave that
those
alone.
people were wrong. A bunch of haters out there. I get it. You guys are a
Yep.
bunch of haters.
But yes, the poll don't lie, so you can continue to make your killer joke.
Vindication!
I don't think you made the joke to start this one out.
No, I never do on Marvelous Depths, but that's okay.
Yeah, well.
All right, friends. We love you. Try to have fun this week, but just not too much fun without us. I tried to hit end and I didn't end.